This program is sponsored by Chocolations, located at 607 East Boston Post Road in Mamaroneck.
Tonight on The Local Live, we have the 4 candidates running for the 2 seats on the Mamaroneck School Board election May 21st. Mamaroneck High School students analyze results of their climate change survey. See how much Sedona Tap House helped raise for the Sound Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. And on tonight's roundtable, we take a look at languages in the community with 2 local teachers. Good evening, it's Thursday, May 16th. I'm Sibylla Chipaziwa, and welcome to The Local Live. If you were wondering who was running for the 2 open seats on the Mamaroneck School Board, look no further. Mike Witch sat down with all 4 candidates to ask them their thoughts on running and the school district.
Welcome to this special segment of The Local Live. Full disclosure, I'm a retired teacher from Mamaroneck Public Schools. And now I'd like to welcome Ina Beater. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're currently on the board, serving your first term, and
Yes.
You're currently the secretary of the board.
Correct.
Why do you want to run again?
I actually enjoy the work. I mean, some people might laugh because it is a pretty heavy time commitment as a board member, but I find that it was a natural progression for me. When I first ran for the board back in 2016, it was a contested election. And I was asked a similar question, and my response was that I knew exactly what I was getting into. I had gone to many, many board meetings prior to serving on the board, so I understood both the opportunity of serving on the board and also the limitations of being a board member. It's given me the opportunity to serve the community in a way that I feel is impactful and important. In fact, public schools are hugely important in any community.
You're the mother of 2 boys.
I am.
And you're a lawyer.
Yes.
And
I like to say I'm a recovering attorney. I'm officially retired according to New York State.
are there particular issues that are yours that you want to see addressed in your second term?
When you say yours, what do you mean? To me personally?
Do you have it? Yes. Do you have an issue that you really want the board or the community or the schools to focus on?
You know, one of the things about being a board member, over the summer, we sit down and we talk about what our board goals are as a group. So individually, none of us can push an individual agenda, and that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for the functioning of a board. That being said, we all have input into what we feel we want the goals of the school district to be, our own goals as a board, goals for the school district, and we work very hard on that. Now, one of my personal goals, if you want to phrase it that way, is I think that we need to do a much better job of figuring out the best ways to communicate and communicate some of our existing programs and really show the trajectory from K through 12 of what the Mamaroneck experience looks like. Because I don't think that enough people know and understand both the offerings that we have and the philosophy behind them. So I've said this, I'm currently the liaison to the Homics PTA. And one of the things I said to them at the recent meeting was, let's work together and figure out, the best way to do this. I need to hear from you what you want to hear and where you want to hear it. Because unfortunately, attendance at our board meetings is rather low unless there's a hot button issue. And how can we improve upon that? And that's important to me.
So communicating the strengths of the district, obviously.
And also the areas where we feel we need to improve.
Do you want to identify one or two of those areas?
Well,
Communication, you mentioned.
Well, communication, and I think the communication part is twofold. You can put a lot of information out there, but if nobody reads it, it's the same thing if a tree falls in the forest. So, what can we do better? How can we get the information out there? What sort of forums would people like to have? So they feel as if they're learning, they're both learning and giving us feedback.
Other than your prior experience on the board, are there any other particular skills that you bring to your candidacy?
Well, as you said, I'm an attorney. I worked in private practice for about 5.5 years. I was an environmental and land use attorney. Then I came to work for the state of New York and worked in the area of affordable housing. And I did some lobbying at that point. I went up to the governor's office. They ship out some attorneys periodically to work in the governor's office and review legislation because they're just swamped with bills at the end of session. So I did that. And I've carried that over even when I was not on the board. I was the legislative liaison for PT Council. So I tracked legislation. I was engaged in lobbying efforts, especially when the tax cap came into being. Had conversations with George, with Susie Oppenheimer, the senator at the time, and I love that type of work, and I've been able to build on that.
We haven't mentioned it, but you're endorsed by the school selection committee, the school board selection committee.
Yes.
That means a lot in this community. Yes.
Thank you.
It's an organization that's been around for many years.
Yeah, thank you. They require even incumbents to submit an application, so we have to go through the same process as everybody else. We have to submit 3 references and then be interviewed by the 24-member selection committee.
Okay. We want to remind everybody that the vote for the budget and the board candidates is
is this coming Tuesday.
May 21st.
May 21st. So please get out there and vote on both the school board election and the budget.
Rena Beater, thank you so much for coming down tonight.
Thank you very much.
Luis Quiroz, welcome to the Local Live. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
So you're running for the school board. This is not your first time.
Right.
And is there a particular thing that you're running on or just general interest?
Well, I'm running on the issue of authenticity and morality. The first time I ran, I was concerned about the minority population, and that's how I was framed.
Sure.
And all the challenges all the stereotypes that they were baptized with, which many of them were wrong. And I did not appreciate it. And the 2 people that I ran against, one is Judith Silberstein, a part of the League of Women Voters now, and she got elected. And the other one was Robert Martin, he got elected. And I'm going to leave you with a newspaper article that appeared that day during that competition, during that field of competition in which I lost because I was not endorsed by the selection committee. But both Judith Silberstein and Robert Martin, when I indicated that we are falling behind with the minority and poorer children, as related to having issue with getting computers during the 90s. It's not like it's an automatic like cell phones. It wasn't like that then. And the disadvantages we had by not being in the technology of participation, which is what I called it, they both indicated that they can all use the computers in the library or in the classrooms, something richer kids would never put up with and richer parents would never put up with. And they got elected on that. And I lost. And then later on, and during the same competition, I also said that in the Mamaroneck Avenue School, at least, if not the entire district, letters to parents should also be translated. And that was a hassle. And I lost a platform, but eventually the letters were translated using Google, so a lot of the translations were wrong. And then I've been advocating I was advocating also that advanced placement course, because my kids all took advanced placement courses, but it wasn't available to more of the population. And it took them over 10 years to finally agree that these advanced placement courses should be available to a bigger population. You shouldn't have to pay for them. They're, like what I said was, there's nothing advanced placement about what they're teaching. And I know that because I saw what my kids were taking. And I said, you're depriving generations of an intellect and scholarship they should have.
So that was some years ago. Now, is there a particular issue that has caught your attention?
Yeah, well, I'd like the voters, everybody, to come out and realize that what I had just spent some minutes on discussing, that it hasn't changed. That authenticity and morality costs money and it costs lawsuits. It's not an intangible. Authenticity and the lack of morality costs money. It's not an intangible. It's not an abstract. And one of the earliest, most deceitful, ugly, discriminatory part of a curriculum over the last 8 to 10 years has been what they call an achievement gap. That is as racist as it gets. There's no such thing as an achievement gap, which what it does is breaks students into smart and stupid, binary. And all the literature, all the education literature that I have here indicates that that an achievement gap is a gimmick just to separate people, students, from access to what they should have.
Are you talking across the board educationally, or are you identifying the Mamaroneck schools?
No. I'm not talking about Mamaroneck Avenue School. And I have gone through board meetings. I have protested that. I have shown them the literature. I have board meetings that I have been at were adjourned because I couldn't stop talking about how racist that the achievement gap theory was. And I've bought books here that you can see. It is, a matter of fact, what achievement gap does, it also, because they assume there's a stupid part of the population, and state testing, is that it pushes students into special education courses. And the reason it does that, because now with the No Child Left Behind Act and Bush, that schools also get rewarded and evaluated based on the performance. So if we have students, if they assume they have students that don't work, are not contributing to increasing that raises achievement gap, they put them into special education.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop. We're out of time. But if people want more information about you, where do they go?
I'm asking people not to vote for Zambrano because he has been. I don't want it about me. I want people to vote for Tayana.
We did an interview with her.
No, I know you did, but we have to stop Zambrano, who is preaching for the achievement gap and evaluations, which will throw. It is horrific.
I have to stop it here. Thank you so much, Luis Quiroz, for coming on today. Tanya Thomas, welcome to The Local Live. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So you're running for the school board. What is it about the school in general that appeals to you, the school district?
Yeah, well, we were attracted to this area because of the diversity. We very much like the emphasis on the arts. And generally, it's been a district that has had a good amount of achievement. So that was very attractive to us.
Is there one aspect in particular that caught your eye? Would it be the diversity of the district?
Yes, absolutely. You know, with our family, my husband's British, so we liked this area because it is an international area. And for us as a multiracial family, it was really important to be in a diverse community.
And you have one child, and
yes.
She's 10?
Yes, she is.
Okay, she's at Central?
Yes, she is.
And does she like the school?
Yeah, she's made some very good friends at the school. And one of our big accomplishments that we've had is that we've always tried to get her impassioned about classical music, and she had zero interest until she joined orchestra at school. And the lovely orchestra teacher was able, by her actually playing an instrument and it being a part of her daily life, she fell in love with it. So that's been a really good outcome.
Have you been involved in the PTA at Central?
Yes, absolutely. I've worked on many initiatives. I'm on the gardening club. Last autumn, we helped the fifth graders overwinter a garden, which they harvested a few days ago. And I've also worked extensively for the school play. Whenever there's a play on, I pretty much live at the school. I show up every day. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, and I'll go in. And my background as a teacher is very helpful when it comes to corralling a bunch of third to fifth graders after school.
So you've been a teacher and you also train teachers, I read.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
You've seen both sides of it.
Indeed, yes.
What appeals to you about board service, like as a volunteer activity? Because we all know it's a hard job,
Yes.
not a paying job.
Yes.
But you do get something from it.
Yeah.
What appeals to you about that?
Well, for me, I've lived in this community for 15 years, and I have a great desire to see our community be all it can be. And as a stay-at-home mom, I have a wide amount of time. And there are some issues that we're dealing with now in our community that we need to address. And sadly, there's a lot of bullying right now in our school that many parents feel it's not being addressed. And we need to address it. And I'd like to be a part of the solution.
Do you see that across the board, or is that in just a couple schools? The incident, I think you're referring to an incident that happened at Hommocks.
Right, but what happened at Hommocks was not an isolated event, unfortunately. And my own family has dealt with issues. And having spoken to other families after the Martins came forward, it's widespread. And in some cases, it's racial bullying, name calling, sometimes it's physical. And in some cases, it's just plain old bullying, not motivated by race. But either way, we have children in our community who are not feeling safe in schools. And as a former teacher, I know the importance. I understand the importance. I mean, I would think most people know the importance, but I understand the importance of a safe learning environment.
So then is it safe to say that from your experience on the board, you hope to make change?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a really important issue that we need to address. And I think the unfortunate thing is many people think that if we address what's wrong, we're saying that our good things don't exist. We have many good things, but this is an important thing that's not working right now, and it needs to be addressed. There was a recent study released, I think it was yesterday, and it showed that bullying is on the rise in many schools. There are some districts that are reporting it, but there are some, like our district, that are not, despite all the instances I've been canvassing and speaking to people. And across ethnic groups, I'm hearing stories of bullying that weren't addressed. And as a school community, we're reporting to New York State that we have no bullying, which might look good on paper, official paper, but when the reality in our school is something else, it takes away from who we could be as a community.
Well, we'd like to invite all of our viewers to remember to vote on May 21st.
May 21st.
That's
yes.
for the budget as well as for school board candidates.
Exactly. And if I may, our school board elections have a very low voter turnout. And that's something that everyone in the community, we need to work to change that. Last year, only 6% of eligible voters voted. So on May 21st, we all need to get out and vote. It would be lovely if they voted for me, but if they don't, I'd really just love to see my neighbors having a voice in their community.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Christian Zambrano, welcome to the Local Live.
Thank you for having me. Welcome.
What interests you about the school district, what aspect in particular?
Well, I got to be honest, I grew up in Mamaroneck, so I have a general sense of awareness for the community, for the well-being, for the youth that are coming up. I'm a passionate learner, and I believe that it's important or incumbent upon us to go ahead and set that path for our youth to go ahead and follow and take us to that next level.
And you've got 3 children of your own?
3 beautiful children with a beautiful wife, and you know, my boy's my oldest, and I got my Lucy, and then my youngest, Katie.
And they're currently in the elementary schools?
Yes, Lucy attends Central, and I'm sorry, Katie attends Central, and Lucy's over at MAS with Mason.
What experiences do you have, volunteer experiences or leadership roles, in which you think you're most effective? You're in education now, you're a
Yes, Michael,
principal?
I believe I bring a unique, keen perspective to the board. If I was given the opportunity, you know, I've seen what education looks like from the pre-K to 12 level. So I know what students go through, I know what teachers go through, I know what administrators go through, because I am in the trenches, as we say.
Yes.
So, you know, I believe that skill set alone brings a lot to the table. But more importantly, just you know, being in the community and taking the opportunity to participate in my parish here at St. John and Paul's, and helping out at the community center, volunteering sometimes at the soup kitchen as well. So these are all things that I think are important as the leader of the house to, you know, model
Yeah.
for the family.
Well, being on the Board of Education is a volunteer experience, will be a volunteer experience. What do you hope to get out of it yourself?
Well, it's not so much what I hope to get out of it, it's what I hope to contribute. So at the very least, I think I bring something to the table in terms of perspective, like I said before, but more importantly, I think insight. I can provide a lot of insight to make better decisions, to work with my colleagues and make sure that we have a full picture and kind of voice what may per se not be voiced.
So you've got experience as an educator, but are there additional skills or expertise that you bring to your candidacy, that you would bring to the board if elected?
I mean, besides being a lifelong learner and someone that's involved in the community, you know, I have a passion just for youth in general. You know, I am also the person in charge of the My Brother's Keeper program at Yonkers, where we really make it a point to go ahead and give young men of color opportunities to build confidence and achieve. So that's something that I'm very passionate about.
Are there issues that are current or past that you've noticed about the school district that you really want to address if you're on the board?
I would say issues that I'm concerned about is the growing district. You know, a lot of new students coming into the district like never before. And I think that's also important that, you know, we address that. And I know that the board is moving forward in addressing that and taking steps towards that. Also the idea that, you know, all our schools, every single one of them need to be successful in every vein possible. And I believe it's incumbent upon us at the board level to make sure that we provide opportunities for our students to be successful in every sense of the word.
What do you think is the strongest aspects about the schools, and maybe the weaknesses? What have you identified any?
Every time I walk into my Mamaroneck School District, elementary school per se, I haven't been in the high school in a while, but
You're
the
a
culture.
graduate of Mamaroneck High,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you know the building
Listen,
anyway.
I'm class of '92, so you know, taking it way back. But no, the culture, the teachers, and what they've established. It's amazing. It's amazing, and the things that they accomplish. It's amazing. You know, it's just. I think it's just a matter of looking at the details and seeing what we can do to improve the great things that they've already started. And I think that's not done by myself or anyone else that's trying to get into these seats, but it's done as a collaborative group.
Okay. We've got about 15 seconds. Anything else you want to add?
I'm really excited to be a part of the process. I'm certainly learning a lot. I am looking forward to meeting with different stakeholders in the community and really want to hear their voice and you know, be a microphone for them as well. So you know, I'm hoping for that opportunity, and thank you very much.
And you're endorsed by the School Board Selection Committee. And let's make sure that everybody knows that the vote is on May 21st.
May 21st, make sure you're there. This is Christian Zambrano reporting live.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Students at the Rhinebeck High School have joined forces with the Action Research for Community Change. a local student-run organization that conducts research in order to receive grants, support campaigns, and further policy developments. They're currently researching the public's understanding of climate change and stressing that understanding an issue is more important than just knowing it exists. On Monday, the group shared their findings.
People are more knowledgeable about climate change, but more apathetic as well. Even I, for a few years, believed that climate change was a numbing issue that will never get solved, so why should we try? But it's that very attitude that ensures that nothing will be done, and that's the last thing any of us should want. But despite all this gloom, there is hope. Initiatives such as collaborative planning are spreading among urban planners. An example of what this might look like is to create a major water treatment plant between two towns, instead of two smaller plants, one in each town. Though small, these measures can add up, and are part of a collaborative ethos that is best explained by the motto, "Don't compete, collaborate."
Even though it creates a sense of helplessness, it doesn't mean that we can't do anything. And what's important is that we need to look at these changes and we need to build off of them, and we need to continue and we need to support these people and we need to support our town. While climate change can seem like a daunting task, it's important to conquer it in a lot of little steps so that we accomplish the goal.
Restoration will soon be underway on Mamaroneck Village Cemetery, founded by the Delanceys over 200 years ago. The Mamaroneck Historical Society has secured funding for the project and is collaborating with developers. Restoring the stone markers awaits better weather, but the project is proceeding with finalizing design and implementation of the landscaping. On May 14th, Elk Homes gave a second presentation on its proposed residential and commercial development, known as Central Larchmont, to the Village Board of Trustees, the Planning Board, and residents. The development will include 26 apartments, 5,000 square feet of commercial space, and 27 new parking spaces for the downtown area. Elk Homes said the development would add significant tax revenue and commercial activity. The proposal requires a zoning amendment in addition to review and approval from Larchmont's Planning Board. Residents will have several opportunities to comment during the review process. On opening day, Playland welcomed over 8,000 people, making it its highest attendance in 7 years. Westchester County Executive George Latimer and other officials cut a bright red ribbon. Playland's new mascot, Coaster, the dragon, greeted guests while kids of all ages lined up for rides, musical entertainment, and other attractions.
A lot of affordable housing that's been built in the tri-municipal area, Larchmont and Mamaroneck, and the town. And that's the good news. But the bad news is that the need is so great that when we opened our Section 8 housing voucher program in November of 2017, we got 10,143 applications.
One of the things that always fascinates me about the term affordability is it's really addresses the problems of people of limited incomes, not of people who are truly poor. A significant proportion of the population, of the village at least, doesn't earn enough to get affordable housing. Most reported incomes between 10 and 30,000 a year.
And on tonight's roundtable, Maura Carlin will talk with Virginia Feinberg and Annie Michel about languages in the community.
I'm Maura Carlin. Welcome to the Roundtable. We're talking learning and speaking foreign languages. The Larchmont Mamaroneck community is home to many for whom Spanish and French are their first languages, something we may not think about often. But the Mamaroneck Public Schools have a dual language program, and it's expanding. And the French American School is located right here in Mamaroneck. Our guests are Virginia Feinberg, a linguist and language teacher and the founder of Bilateral, which among other things teaches English to Spanish speakers and Spanish to English speakers. We're also joined by Annie Michel, who's taught French as a first language for 18 years. She went on to the French American School of New York, right here in Mamaroneck, and was there about 27 years and retired, but not for long. And she soon went back to teaching at Rye Country Day School, but this time she's teaching French as a second language. Thank you so much for being here. So do you think Americans should learn a foreign language or a second language and learn to read and write it? I'll start with you, Virginia.
I think that anybody should know a second language because languages are a mirror to opening to the world. And in a country that, for example, what I know about is Spanish speakers, we have 52 million Spanish speakers. I think that getting to know the language, again, as a step to getting to know and understand their culture, is very enriching for the person who learns.
What do you think, Annie?
I think it's very important to learn another language. It opens minds, and we can see the kids who learn two languages are much more open-minded to other subjects, and it's important. We are opening our frontier. We have to communicate with the world, so it's very important to be able to speak several languages, at least two.
Does it have an impact on the brain?
Definitely. The brain is located mainly in what's called the Broca area of the brain. And for people who speak more than one language, there's very interesting research being done, according to which not only the Broca area is bigger, but if there's a genetic predisposition, learning a language as an adult might delay Alzheimer's for at least 5 years.
Really? Why is that?
It's a huge, because it activates parts of your brain and it helps neurons to regenerate. The latest research in neurology reveals that, contrary to what was thought before, you were born with so many neurons and that was it. That's not really true. And you can train, like you train your muscles, through learning a foreign language or through learning an instrument. That's another possibility as an adult.
So there's a health reason, though, to learn a foreign language.
Absolutely.
Which language? French, Spanish, something else? Doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
No.
I think what matters is the exercise.
So do you think that Americans, or those of us born here, should learn a foreign language? For those who come here to live from France or a Spanish-speaking country, do you think they should be learning English?
Definitely. To adapt better to the to feel better in the community where they live, and to communicate. Because a lot of people who come here and we don't speak the language and we don't make an effort, they're not as happy as the one who communicates and open their door to another language and to another.
You agree with that, Virginia?
Totally. I mean, basically, it's all about communicating. And how can you be in a new world without being able to express yourself and decipher the world around you? And I think it's natural. I think anybody who comes here, except people who arrive very, later in life or whatever, but kids, of course they will learn the language. It's a myth that they don't.
So what do you think about families that continue to speak their language, whatever that may be, which isn't English, in their home? Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's a good idea because the kids can adapt to the situation, and when they're at home they speak French, and when they're outside they speak English, and they don't like to have an accent, they don't like to show that they are learning, they are French. And that's, I don't know if you saw that, but when I teach, I see the students outside of the class of French, they speak English. And even the one who just arrived, they want to be part of of their community with the age.
Yes, of course. It's. I think we're talking of enriching your own world by speaking two languages, and I think the family is a huge strength for somebody who maintains a language this way. There's something called the abuela factor, meaning a lot of kids who are Spanish heritage speakers. That means they were born here, they speak English, but they have Spanish somewhere around them. They have this grandma who usually doesn't speak English, or they go back to their countries of origin, of their parents usually. And this is the abuela factor. They have to speak Spanish or whatever language with the grandmother. And it's wonderful.
So many public school districts, there are a number of Spanish speakers, provide translation in Spanish for the families, not so much for the students. Is that good or bad?
For the parents?
For the parents.
Well, if they're in the process themselves of integrating, I think it's wonderful that they are helped to, to understand and be understood. Of course, it's positive, yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break. So this is your chance. Write in, call in your questions about learning a foreign language. We'll be back in a moment, so stay with us.
Do you need space for a meeting, conference, or presentation? LMC TV has what you need. Our 768 square foot studio space is ideal for many types of productions, readings, recitals, rehearsals, and workshops. The space has video recording capability, as well as daylight temperature lighting, green screen, and stage. 2 additional rooms at 208 and 156 square feet can be used for any of your needs. Auditions, meetings, classes, workshops, one-on-one instructions, and more. Both rooms feature video monitors with Chromecasting capability, making presentations a breeze. To reserve one or more of our spaces,
contact us at reserve@lmctv.org.
LMC TV Media Center is the spot for your next party. Lights, camera, liftoff. The possibilities are endless. Space adventures, video gaming, whatever they imagine, LMC can achieve. Kids of all ages have fun making their own videos in our professional TV studio. LMC TV is the perfect spot for your creative kid to celebrate with friends and make a memory that will last forever in video. Party themes can range depending on their desire. Fun news shows, music videos, stop motion, overall silliness, our cameras can capture it all. Contact us to book a party today.
Welcome back. Remember, you can get in your questions about learning a foreign language. Thank you. We're going to continue this discussion. Why is learning a foreign language so challenging for so many? I mean, it seems to freak people out. Oh my God, I got to learn.
I know, but I would say that has more to do with the fact of being a native English speaker, because traditionally and historically, there's this thing whereby the world speaks English. That is not true anymore. It is a vehicular language, of course, but I think it's a question of attitude, because in countries like the Netherlands, that are very small, or Denmark, everybody speaks other languages, because they know they need to communicate. While here, everybody assumes somebody will speak English, people speak English. So I think it's a question of attitude more than anything else.
So you don't think is English harder than other languages?
No.
I think it's harder for people who are from a Latin language, like French. It's more difficult to pronounce, it's more difficult to learn, rather than Italian or Spanish. I think it's my...
You think French is harder than Italian or Spanish?
No. I mean,
I think all of them
English is more difficult for the French to learn this language, because we have a Latin root. Latin roots.
The words are similar. The sentence construction
yes.
is similar. In fact, let me ask you: can you describe some of the differences between the construction of a sentence in English? There are just differences in the way you put it together.
Obviously, but I think that beyond that, I would say that Latin languages are syllabic languages, where every syllable, like desarrollo, development, has the same weight within the word.
So there's no emphasis on a particular...
Exactly. While English is a stress language, whereby within a word, every syllable doesn't have the same value, the same weight. So that already creates a melody, a music, a rhythm, and a way of organizing the language that is radically different from a Latin language. That is one of the main differences. The rest you can learn.
What about, English has many words that sound alike but that are different, or one word has so many different meanings. Is that different than what exists in other languages?
Not really. We have words who have several, we call that homonyms, and we have words which have the same spelling but different meaning. So no, I don't think it's very different.
No, it's not different. That's the way languages are organized. Yeah. But you know that half of the words you say in English are of Latin or Greek origin. So when you start learning French or Spanish, you know a huge amount of the language. Like the word planet,
right?
You would say planète in French and planeta in Spanish. You have a word already. And there are many, many, many like that.
Yes. So other than perhaps changing our attitude towards it, what are some tips or strategies for learning another language?
Start young.
I guess I was thinking about learning older, but yes. Why is that though? Is it because the brain is just absorbing more, or?
I think it's a question of ear. Yes, when you're a kid, when you're small, when you're in kindergarten, you learn faster how to pronounce, and it becomes more natural quickly.
Yes, there are objective reasons, but in neuroscience, where they are researching this now, I would say that in an adult, a huge factor is motivation. Because objectively, there is less neuroplasticity, less plasticity in your brain. Your memory retention span is obviously, these are objective things that happen even in English.
And some of it is just, we just have more to think about.
That's, the hard disk is fuller. Anyway, but you can really compensate a huge amount through motivation. I think that the tip is love the idea of speaking another language, get a good teacher, that helps. There's wonderful material now online. You can learn with songs, you can learn a huge amount. Just turn it into a fun moment, a systematic fun moment. That's what I would do.
Go ahead, Annie.
Yeah, I can see that really in the school where I'm teaching right now, where it's really, you have to play, you have to interact, you cannot just sit at a desk and do your lesson. You have really to be part of a game, part of an active moment with the students, any age.
And that makes it easier to learn if you're actually doing something instead of just studying it.
Absolutely.
So one last question. We have a number of non-English speaking people who come to here. Why do you think they like the Sound Shore? Does it remind them of other countries, or
they love it?
I mean, you've said that. So why?
But it looks like Brittany, some of the harbor in Larchmont, and it's close to the city. It's very peaceful and safe for the kids. I think it's a little paradise here.
Well, the French-American school is here. That is
but why
a huge
is it? It
factor.
could be anywhere else. So I'm like, it must be here. It must be here because people came here. So I was curious.
New Rochelle.
Right. New Rochelle, the
is true.
Huguenots came here. So it's an old love story between the French and Westchester. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Virginia and Annie. I hope you enjoyed that discussion.
Thank you.
For more information on bilateral, though, where do we go?
You go to www.bilaterallanguagecourses.com. And there you can have access to all the information and get in touch with me.
Great. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We've got more of the Local Live coming up for you.
The move comes 4 days after her blackface comment that provoked a firestorm.
In an era of media consolidation and globalization, the PEG channels root our media in local communities, in local voices, and that is absolutely indispensable.
A lot of people are able to get job training, information, just from using public access.
This is about the arts. This is about accessibility. This is about transparency. Great youth media programs giving people second chances in being able to learn new skills.
PEG stations give viewers critical information about their communities and offer an important platform for local residents. PEG channels connect us to our communities, and they enrich our lives every single day of the year. The FCC should work for communities, not powerful cable companies. This battle is a lot like the fight for net neutrality. Net neutrality is really about every voice, no matter how small, being heard. The same is true here with the PEG channels.
The main threat facing media centers nationwide is that the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is going to redefine how we receive our funding.
It will impact the people who we're trying to serve. They're actually paying for us in their cable bill. And now all of a sudden the cable operator is taking their money, then deducting it from us.
They cannot be in a position where they basically force the shuttering of PEG channels all across our country.
We need Congress to tell the FCC that they're out of bounds.
It's pretty clear to me that the FCC is an agency that does the public's will begrudgingly, and it fits and starts.
We're talking about supporting causes, charities, education, youth, seniors, democracy.
This is not a left issue. This is not a right issue. This is an everybody issue.
If you care about protecting local community access television, raise your voices.
Here's some of what's happening around town. Grab your popcorn and head to Memorial Park in Larchmont for an outdoor movie. The town of Mamaronec's Recreation Department will be hosting the event and will be screening the movie 101 Dalmatians. The movie time will be at dusk and admission is free. This is all happening on Friday, May 17th, with the rain date scheduled for Friday, May 31st. Get ready for a dazzling night at the Blue Jeans and Bling event. The Mamaroneck Schools Foundation will be holding this silent and live auction at the Larchmont Yacht Club, Saturday, May 18th. Rock your favorite denim and enjoy food and fun starting at 6:30 p.m. Enjoy a beautiful day at Warren Park for the Village of Mamaronec's annual Tree Walk event. Don't miss out on learning about nature's wonders. All ages are welcome on Sunday, May 19th at 1:30 p.m. Join the Village of Larchmont and Town of Mamaroneck for a day of remembrance. The Memorial Day Parade will be held on Thursday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Lineup begins at 6:45 p.m. and food will be served for all at the end of the parade.
LMC Cast. The whole system is fine. All right, cool. I definitely would recommend doing podcasts if you are someone that likes to get something off the chest, so you want to just talk about anything in the world that just might interest you. Podcast here at LMC TV is amazing.
I hope you're listening out there.
Last Friday, the South Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee was presented with a check from Sedona Tap House, which has raised more than $1,200 during its Stake Out for Charity in March. The money raised is going towards the committee's scholarship fund. The Local Live stopped by the small ceremony.
So this year for our Sound Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade, every Monday during the month of March, we did a stakeout for charity, so graciously hosted by Sedona Steakhouse. This year is our third year, I believe, of doing it, and it was our best year by far. We made $1,287 to be donated to our scholarship fund. We usually do 2 students in the Sound Shore community for high school and going into college from high school or college-age students.
So Sedona Tap House, we're happy to support the community. We've been doing this for 3 years since we've opened, and we always thought it was important to give back to the community in some way, so we created the Stake Out for Charity program, where we're able to give a portion of of the proceeds of a steak dinner to different charities, March being the Sound Shore Scholarship Fund, which has been a great partnership with us. They brought a lot of people in from the community to try our restaurant. They've tried different things and obviously bought steaks for supporting the group.
So we're delighted that Sedona allowed the Sound Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade Scholarship Fund to be their March charity. This is our third year running and it's our best year so far. They have a great staff here. We want to thank all the people that came out during the month of March to support our cause as well. Now, Our parade for 2020 is going to be on March 22nd. We like to encourage everyone to come out and march. We'll be talking more about that as the year goes on there. But I think that there's still time to submit for the scholarship fund.
June 1st is the deadline for our scholarship fund, so if you haven't submitted yet, please feel free, go on our website.
Yeah, and come back here on June 15th. We'll be presenting the scholarship to our wonderful scholarship winners. So thanks again, Sedona Tap House. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coyote and Kate Howard are back with Scriptly Live. They bring us the latest on the small and silver screens.
What's up, everyone? I'm Quiroz.
And I'm Kate. Welcome back.
We are back at the LMC TV studios with another local live. We missed you, world. It's been a while.
It has. We sure did miss you. But Quiroz, we have to get to the movies here. I mean, we have some great films that are hitting theaters soon.
Okay, so we need to talk about the movie coming out soon that's going to be hot, blockbuster. What do you got?
Well, I know you're super excited for this film, but Aladdin is coming out in theaters Thursday, May 23rd, directed by Guy Ritchie and starring Will Smith as Genie. And a relatively unknown cast as the main characters, which you know I love. I hate when they cast A-plus character or actors for these minor roles.
Well, listen, I don't mind the cast, but you know, Kate, I'm a bit skeptical of the film. I'm not sure what to expect with Guy Ritchie directing it. It looks great visually, but with Will Smith, he looked like one big blue blob, and I wasn't too crazy about that.
He's a genie coming out of a bottle.
I know, but people expressed their dislike all over social media.
This is true.
Which got a major backlash. Let's take a look at Aladdin hitting theaters May 23rd, Thursday.
Yep.
You stumbled upon an opportunity. I can make you rich. Rich enough to impress a princess.
What would I have to do?
There's a cave of wonders. Bring me the lamp.
I think it looks great, and honestly, I mean, I think they could have cast someone a little bit older and crankier for Jafar, but it's fine. I mean, will suffice. He's hot, but whatever. I think you're being a bit hard on Guy.
Whoa, okay, we're on a first name basis with Guy.
Well, you know his name is Guy. His name is Guy.
Like you're right. His name is Guy.
His birth name is Guy.
I don't know what I'm thinking.
I mean, I'm assuming it's Guy. I don't know. He married Madonna. Who's anyway.
Mr. Madonna.
It's fine. It's cool. But you know what? I think you're right. I think Aladdin is a classic, and it will be better than it looks. Will it measure up to Lion King?
Whoa.
Probably not, because you know with the Lion King.
Nope. We're not going to do that here, Kate. That movie will not. I'm going to predict that now. It will not measure up to the Lion King. It will be good though.
Whoa.
But it's not going to measure up to Lion King. I'm saying that right now.
All right. Well, he seems pretty set on that. So anyway, on to TV briefly. We're going to touch on Jane the Virgin, which is this final season. I will truly miss the show. It was outlandish. It was witty. It was funny. It was basically your telenovela heightened on steroids, if you will, headed up by the talented Gina Rodriguez. I will really, really miss watching this show.
It was a funny show, I will say.
Oh, you hated it. Who are you kidding?
I didn't hate it. I watched it because you were watching it. But
who will she pick, Michael or Raphael?
Michael or Raphael, who cares? Well, guys, listen. That's it for another episode of Scriptly Live here at the Local Live. Check us out on all our social media. I'm Quiroz.
I'm Kate.
And we'll be back.
Bye, guys.
Later, guys.
This week in sports, the Mamaroneck softball team was locked in a tied game against league rival Ursuline. With a runner on second and one at the bottom of the seventh, junior Millie Bone delivered for the Tigers in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Bone lines one up the middle, base hit. That goes into the gap. Here comes Steinberg, she scores, and the Tigers win it, 7-6.
Great swing by Bone, rips the ball into right center field. And there was no doubt about Steinberg scoring on that play, and that will be the game winner. A great performance here from Mamaroneck.
Do you have a news tip? Seen anything interesting around town? Is there breaking news in your community? Send your videos, comments, pictures, and tips to the Local Live, your news source of Larchmont and Mamaroneck.
Remember, if you missed Thursday's live broadcast, you can catch replays of the Local Live twice a day on this channel and find story clips on our YouTube channel. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook to stay up to date on things you may have missed. And don't forget to vote for your favorites in this year's LMC TV Award Night, including the best overall package for the Local Live in 2018. Voting closes Sunday, May 26th. Thank you for watching the Local Live. I'm Sibylla Chipaziwa, and we will be taking a break next week, but keep an eye out on our Facebook page for news from the community. See you on May 30th. Have a good night.
This program is sponsored by Chocolations, located at 607 East Boston Post Road in Mamaroneck. If you are interested in sponsoring this or other programs on LMC TV, contact us for more information.